I should have trusted my gut the moment I walked up the front porch and saw my suitcase sitting there, alone, like I didn't belong anymore. It was a long, exhausting day at work. I remember it clearly because I had skipped lunch, spilled coffee on my blouse, and spent my last hour pretending not to cry in the break room. All I wanted was to get home, change into sweats, and forget the day ever happened. Instead, I came home to find my life dumped on the front steps. My name is Emily, and at 35, I never imagined I'd be standing outside the house I paid for, locked out, abandoned, and humiliated by the very people I called family. When I first saw the bags, I froze. A worn-out suitcase, a couple of plastic bags stuffed with my clothes, and a cardboard box with my makeup, books, and journals. My journals, the ones I kept hidden in the back of the closet. How did they even? No, my heart dropped. I tried my key. It wouldn't turn. I jiggled it, pulled it out, tried again. Nothing. They changed the locks. I could barely breathe. My hands shook as I bent down to go through the bags, like maybe this was a prank or misunderstanding. But it wasn't. My belongings were tossed together like trash. No care, no respect. Just thrown out. My favorite perfume bottle was broken. My shoes were crushed. Even my laptop was shoved in carelessly, with no case, just sitting next to an old toothbrush. I picked up a folded piece of paper, half crumpled, sitting on top of the box. It read, "Don't come back. We don't want you here anymore." That was it. No name, no signature, just those words like a knife to my chest. I called Tom, my husband, the man I married 7 years ago. It rang once, then voicemail. I called again. Voicemail. "Tom," I said, my voice trembling. "What is this? Are you serious right now? Call me back." He never did. You know the worst part. I wasn't even surprised. His mother, oh, she never liked me. Always treated me like a maid, barking orders, acting like I owed her something for marrying her precious son. And his sister Mona Lisa. She only remembered I existed when she needed help paying her phone bill or wanted to borrow my dresses. I did everything in that house. I paid the rent, the electricity, the groceries. Tom had been laid off months ago and hadn't found another job. But somehow, I was the one thrown out. I sat in my car, staring at the house while the porch light flickered above my boxed-up life. I didn't cry. Not yet. I was too angry to cry. When I pulled up to my parents' house an hour later, my mom rushed out barefoot, hugging me like she knew everything already. "Oh baby," she whispered. "Come inside. We'll figure it out." And I believed her, because for the first time in a long time, I felt safe. But I wasn't going to let them get away with this. Not after everything I gave them. They wanted me gone. Fine, they would watch me rise without them. If you've ever felt thrown away, betrayed, or underestimated, this story is for you. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share for more real-life stories that hit deep. You're not alone, and your comeback, it starts now. She walked in slowly, carrying a small tray, tea and a plate with 2 slices of buttered bread, just like she used to when I had bad days in high school. I didn't know if that made me feel comforted or more pathetic. She sat beside me, handed me the tea. "Eat something," she said gently. "You've had a rough day." I stared at the cup in my hands, then finally asked, "What if this is it? What if I have nothing left to go back to?" She didn't answer right away. Instead, she reached for my hand. "Mona Lisa was always jealous of you. She couldn't stand how self-made you were. And Tom, sweetheart, love doesn't throw you out without a conversation." I looked up at her, biting back tears again. He let them do it. He didn't even call. He didn't try to stop it. Then that tells you everything you need to know about him. We sat in silence for a while. Just the hum of the old ceiling fan above us and the creak of the bed under our weight. I hated that she was right. I hated that deep down, I already knew this marriage was dying long before they threw me out. The next morning, I was up early. Couldn't sleep much. I made myself coffee and sat on the back porch, watching the sky change from pale gray to soft gold. I hadn't had this kind of quiet in years. But inside my head, it was chaos. I picked up my phone, stared at Tom's contact. Still no message. No missed call. Not even a, "Where are you?" Nothing. Just silence. I scrolled through my photos, stopping on one we'd taken just a few months ago. We were smiling at a restaurant, arms around each other. I looked happy. But now, I wondered if it was real or just something I had convinced myself to believe. Then I saw it, an alert from our shared bank app. $4,200 withdrawn. My eyes widened. I refreshed the app. Another $600. A payment to his sister Mona Lisa. I shot up from the bench. He was draining our joint account. And sending the money to the same people who threw me out. I grabbed my phone and called the bank. By noon, I had frozen the account. By afternoon, I had a new one opened in my name. By evening, I was sitting with my mom at the dining table with a fresh notepad and a laptop. "Okay," I said, breathing deep. "I need to figure out what's next." She smiled like she had been waiting for this moment. "You already know what to do. You've always known." Trying to clear my head. The air was warm, the streets quieter than I remembered, and with every step, I felt something slowly lifting off me, like the weight of pretending I was okay was beginning to peel away. I passed the bakery where I used to get cinnamon rolls as a teenager, the park where I used to walk when I needed to think, and the corner store where I bought my first set of keys when I moved out. And now here I was, back again. But this time, something was different. I wasn't that girl trying to prove herself anymore. I had built a life. I had paid bills, handled stress, supported another family that wasn't even mine. I had been strong, and even though it ended in betrayal, that didn't erase everything I had done. Halfway through my walk, my phone buzzed. It was a text. "Tom, I hope you're okay. Mom was just trying to protect the family. Maybe we can talk soon." I stopped walking, just stood there in the middle of the sidewalk, rereading the message. Protect the family. I wanted to scream. She kicked me out of my own house. She threw my things on the ground like I was a stray cat they fed for too long. And Tom still couldn't take responsibility. Still couldn't say I messed up. Still couldn't say I should have stopped her. I called him. He answered after 2 rings. "Emily, you let them throw me out," I said. "You didn't say anything. You didn't stop them." He sighed, like he was the one tired. "Look, it got out of hand, okay. I didn't want things to go that far. But you didn't stop it." Silence. I was at work, Tom. I came home to my life on the porch. A note telling me not to come back. "You let that happen." "I didn't know what to do," he said quietly. "You could have stood up for me. Just once." Then I hung up. That night, I sat with my mom and dad again at the kitchen table. This time, I brought out a pen and paper. "I need to make some decisions," I said. "I want to talk to a lawyer. About the house. About our accounts." My dad nodded slowly, proud. My mom reached across and squeezed my hand, and for the first time in weeks, I felt in control again. Said, "We need to talk." That was it. No sorry. No explanation. Just that. My dad looked straight ahead, his hands resting calmly on his knees. "That sounds like someone who doesn't think he did anything wrong." I swallowed the lump in my throat. "That's what scares me," I said. "Because if he doesn't see the problem, what's the point of talking?" We sat in silence for a minute. The sun was almost completely gone now, casting a soft blue over the street. I used to sit here dreaming about love and a big life. Now here I was, 35 and heartbroken, trying to figure out how I got so far from myself. My dad finally spoke. "You know, when your mother and I got married, we made a promise. Not just to stay together, but to protect each other from anyone who tried to come between us. That includes family, especially family." I looked at him. "So you think I should ignore him?" He shook his head. "I think you should listen to yourself. What does your gut say?" I sighed. "It says, he's only reaching out because he lost control. Not because he wants to make things right." My dad smiled softly. "Then that's your answer." Later that night, I lay in bed staring at the ceiling. My phone was still on the couch. I hadn't picked it up again. I couldn't. And for the first time, I didn't feel guilty about it. I felt strong. The next morning, I woke up with a new kind of energy. I showered, got dressed, and went to the small desk in my old bedroom. I opened my laptop and pulled out a notepad. I wasn't going back to the life I had before. But that didn't mean I had to stay stuck either. I began listing everything in my name: credit cards, accounts, subscriptions, the car. I needed to protect myself. Then I looked up the name of a local attorney. I had questions about the house, about our shared finances, about what I was legally allowed to do now. I wasn't looking for revenge. I was looking for clarity. Because if Tom really wanted to talk, we weren't doing it the old way, me begging to be heard, and him hiding behind his mother and Mona Lisa. No, this time, we were going to do it my way. Long walks every morning. No phone, no distractions, just me and my thoughts. There was something healing about feeling the sun on my skin, the wind in my hair, the sound of my own breath instead of someone else's opinions. I started to sleep better. I even laughed out loud at something my mom said during breakfast, and that sound, my own laugh, felt strange but beautiful. I was coming back to myself. One morning, about a week after Tom's message, I got a call from an unknown number. I let it ring out. Then it rang again. Same number. Curious, and a little anxious, I answered. Hello. A woman's voice. Emily, it's Mona Lisa. My heart dropped into my stomach. There was silence on the line for a moment. I didn't say anything. She cleared her throat. Look, I know you probably don't want to hear from me. And honestly, I didn't think I'd be the one calling either. But I just thought you should know, things are weird at the house. I still didn't speak. I mean, Mom's been acting like everything's fine, but Tom's been a mess. He's not eating. He barely leaves the room. I couldn't help it. I let out a short, dry laugh. So you're calling to what? Get me to feel bad for him? No, she snapped quickly, then sighed. No, I didn't think it would go this far. We didn't expect you to actually leave. That part made my blood boil. You didn't expect me to leave. I repeated, voice rising. You threw me out, Mona Lisa. You changed the locks. You dumped my life on the front porch. What exactly did you think would happen? She was quiet for a moment. Then, quietly, I'm sorry. It didn't sound forced. It didn't sound fake. But it still wasn't enough. I exhaled slowly. I need time. And honestly, I don't think this is something we can fix over a phone call. I understand, she said. I just thought, you should know. Before I could respond, she hung up. I sat on the edge of my bed for a long while after that. Not because I was sad, but because I felt something shift inside me. Like something heavy had finally cracked open. They didn't expect me to leave. They thought I'd crawl back, like always. Quiet, forgiving, convenient. Not this time. That evening, I made a call of my own. Hi, I'm calling about scheduling a consultation, I said into the phone. Yes, I'd like to speak to someone about separating finances and property, yes, including the house. My name is Emily. Yes, I'm ready. Air between us felt heavy, thicker than silence. I crossed my arms, not out of anger, but to hold myself together. Tom sat stiffly, hands clasped, glancing around like the walls might start judging him too. He finally spoke. I didn't think it would come to this, he mumbled. I let out a short laugh, not because it was funny. No, you didn't think throwing my stuff outside and changing the locks might push me away. Tom flinched. I didn't do that. My mom and Mona Lisa. And you let them, I cut in sharply. You watched them treat me like I was nothing in that house. And you said nothing. You let me walk into that mess alone every day while I was paying the bills and cleaning up after everyone. He looked down, silent. I tried, Emily, he said quietly. I just didn't want to cause more tension. More tension, I repeated, my voice rising slightly. Do you know how humiliating it was? Coming home after a long day of work to see my life dumped on the front porch like garbage. And the only message I got was, don't come back. That wasn't just tension, Tom. That was betrayal. He finally looked up at me. His eyes were red. I was scared. Scared of your mom, of Mona Lisa. What about me, the woman you married? I shook my head, trying to breathe through the heat rising in my chest. You don't get to hide behind fear and then act surprised when everything falls apart. There was a long pause. Tom leaned forward, his voice barely above a whisper. I miss you. I stared at him. My heart didn't flutter. My stomach didn't twist. I just felt tired. I don't miss that version of you, I said. I don't miss who I had to become to survive in that house. He blinked, stunned. I don't even know who I was in that marriage anymore, I continued. I was exhausted all the time. Always trying to keep the peace, to keep your family comfortable. Meanwhile, no one cared if I was okay. Tom looked like he wanted to say something, but he didn't. I stood up slowly. I'm not here to argue. And I'm not here to hear more excuses. I wanted to look you in the eye and say this clearly. I'm done, Tom. I'm not coming back. He opened his mouth, but I raised my hand. Don't. I'm not saying this to hurt you. I'm saying it because for the first time in years, I'm choosing me. He nodded, eyes wet. So that's it. I gave a soft, sad smile. That's it. I watched him, this man I once shared a bed with, made plans with, defended even when I was hurting. Now, he just sat there, staring at the floor like a child who'd been caught doing something wrong. Not because he finally understood what he did, but because he finally couldn't avoid it. I thought if I kept the peace, everything would work itself out, he finally muttered. I blinked slowly. No, Tom, you didn't keep the peace. You kept them comfortable, at my expense. He looked up, eyes glossy. I didn't mean to hurt you. But you did, I said simply, and the worst part, you stood by while it happened. You let Mona Lisa speak to me like I was nothing. You watched your mother give me chores like I was the help. You saw me come home from work my job exhausted, and you still let them pile more on me. Emily, he whispered, shaking his head, like that might erase everything. I sat up straighter, locking eyes with him. Do you know I once missed my own promotion celebration because your mom, accidentally, scheduled a family dinner. And when I told you I wanted to celebrate instead, you told me I was being dramatic. He swallowed hard. I cleaned up after her guests, Tom. I helped Mona Lisa pay her rent more than once. I gave, and gave, and gave. And when I needed space or help or anything remotely close to partnership, I got silence. Or worse, attitude. He rubbed his face, clearly overwhelmed. I didn't realize. No, I interrupted. You chose not to realize. Because it was easier that way. Easier for you to sit in the middle and pretend you were being fair, when really you were just staying quiet and hoping I'd deal with it. He leaned forward, elbows on his knees, face in his hands. I didn't think you'd actually leave. And there it was. That quiet confession that said everything. I stared at him, suddenly feeling colder than I expected. Yeah, that's what Mona Lisa said too. You all thought I'd stay. Keep cleaning, keep paying, keep being the peacekeeper. You never thought I'd walk away. He didn't respond. I stood up. I'm not asking you to beg, Tom. And I'm not trying to be cruel. But I need you to understand this. I'm done carrying this alone. You don't get to show up now with regrets and expect me to forget how you made me feel for 2 years. He looked up, eyes red. So what now? I looked down at him, calm but steady. Now I move forward. And you live with what you allowed. I walked to the door and opened it. My hands were steady. My voice was clear. Goodbye, Tom. But I could tell she was holding back. One afternoon, I was sitting at the kitchen table with my laptop open, half reading an article about freelance consulting, when she finally spoke. Emily, she said gently, setting down a cup of tea in front of me, are you planning to go back to Tom? I didn't answer right away. I stared at the steam rising from the cup like it had answers I didn't. I don't know, I finally whispered. She nodded slowly, sitting across from me. I'm not pushing. I don't want you to get pulled back into something that breaks you all over again. That hit me hard. Not because it was harsh, but because it was true. I sighed. I told him I needed time. He said he'd change, set boundaries, talk to Mona Lisa and his mom, but how many times have I heard that? Mom reached out and placed her hand over mine. I watched you dim yourself for that marriage, Em. I saw how small you started living, how tired you were all the time. That's not what love is. I looked at her, and for a moment, the daughter in me wanted to cry. But the woman I was becoming just nodded. I don't want to go back to that, I said. I want to be proud of the life I live. I want to feel peace when I walk into my own home. She smiled sadly. Then maybe the real decision's already made. A few days later, I was upstairs folding laundry when my phone buzzed. It was a message from an unknown number. Mona Lisa, Emily, I know I'm the last person you want to hear from. But I just wanted to say I'm sorry. Really, I didn't realize how far things had gone until you were gone. If you ever want to talk, I'm here. I stared at the screen for a long time. I hadn't even said her name out loud since the night they locked me out. And now here she was, reaching out like everything could be patched with a message. I typed and deleted 5 different responses before I set the phone down. I wasn't ready. Maybe I never would be. Later that evening, I went for a walk by myself. The air was cool and quiet. I found a bench at the edge of the park and sat there watching the sky fade into deep blues and soft purples. And for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel like I was running from anything. I was just here, sitting with my thoughts, sitting with myself. And that was enough. The morning light poured through the kitchen windows as my mom sat across from me with her cup of tea. She didn't say anything at first. She watched me like she was waiting for the right moment. Then finally, she broke the silence. So, what's next? Her voice wasn't pushy, just soft, curious, but I could hear the worry underneath. It had been a few weeks since Tom and I had that talk in the living room, and I still hadn't made a final decision. I was avoiding it, honestly, I was just tired. Of everything. I shrugged. I don't know yet, I said. Just trying to take it one day at a time. She nodded and gave me that knowing look moms have when they want to give advice but are holding back, waiting for you to ask for it. I know you'll figure it out, she said gently. Just don't rush. You've been through a lot. I smiled back, but my mind was spinning. I didn't want to lean on my parents forever. I loved them, and they had been amazing through all of this, but I had always been independent. I needed to feel like me again. Strong, whole, clear-headed. The days passed slowly, but something in me was shifting. I started going out more. Little things, like picking up groceries or sitting in a coffee shop just to people watch and think. It helped. It made me feel like I was coming back to myself. One afternoon, I found myself sitting in my car outside a small cafe, just staring through the windshield, holding my coffee without even sipping it. I was deep in thought. What would life look like without Tom? No more biting my tongue at family dinners. No more waiting for him to stand up for me. No more walking on eggshells around his mother or Mona Lisa. And then came the harder thoughts. No more us. No more shared routines. No more hoping things would change. I pulled out my phone and scrolled through old texts from him. It was like reading a script I'd already memorized. Me expressing how tired I was, how unseen I felt, him apologizing, promising he'd fix it. And nothing ever changed. That's when I knew. I had been hanging on to the idea of who I hoped he could be, not who he actually was. I had to stop holding on to potential and start choosing peace. The next morning, I sat down at the kitchen table with my parents. I think I'm going to leave him, I said quietly. My mom didn't flinch. She just looked at me with those soft, steady eyes and said, I'm proud of you. My dad nodded. You've done more than your part, Emily. You don't owe anyone any more of yourself than you've already given. Hearing that from them, it gave me strength I didn't realize I needed. A few days later, I called Tom. It wasn't a long conversation. I don't think there's anything left to fix, I told him. I need to move on. I want to start the process of separating. He didn't argue, didn't beg. He just paused and said, I get it. And honestly, that surprised me, but maybe he knew deep down that I had already left the marriage emotionally a long time ago. Maybe we both did. The following weeks were a blur of logistics, documents, calls, separating bank accounts, deciding what to do with the house. It was draining, yes, but also strangely freeing. I didn't cry like I thought I would. I didn't fall apart. Instead, I felt lighter, like I was reclaiming pieces of myself I hadn't seen in years. It wasn't just about ending a marriage. It was about stepping away from a life where I was constantly giving and never being given to. A life where I was seen as useful, but never as enough. Now, I was choosing me. The woman who stopped making herself small to keep others comfortable. The woman who finally said, enough, after bending too far for too long. I wasn't bitter. I wasn't angry anymore. I was free. Keep supporting our channel, share the story, comment and like. Thank you and stay blessed.